Hi, welcome to the podcast that I've created, which is featuring three segments. Where first I'll be going over why I upgraded to a DSLR. Secondly, the amount of research that went into choosing the right DSLR. And thirdly, why I picked the Nikon D5500. Okay, the first part, which is why I upgraded to a DSLR. Now, the previous camera that I had was a Sony DSC TX9. So I would call it a high-end point-and-shoot camera. Now, there was nothing wrong with the camera. It performed very well. With 12.2 megapixel, it had good picture quality, especially 1080p recording for movies. But now I feel that I want to start amateur photography, especially in landscape and wildlife, and also portraits, which is always there. So the need to learn photography has also had the need to buy a DSLR. Now, why buy a DSLR when there's newer technology such as the compact system camera or the CSC? The compact system camera is nothing but a DSLR without a mirror, so it's much more compact, much more lightweight. The only drawback is it's expensive, and as many of the professional photographers say, you don't get the feeling of learning through a DSLR. So that is the reason why I felt I had to upgrade from a high-end point and shoot camera to a entry level or a mid-range DSLR. On to part 3 of this podcast series, which is the amount of research that went into choosing the right camera for my needs. Now, in the DSLR field, there are only two major players, which is Nikon and Canon. So it was a toss-up between buying either a Nikon or a Canon entry-level DSLR. Now, why I didn't go ahead with the why I didn't go ahead with the Canon and instead went ahead with the Nikon was after extensive research, where I read a lot of articles from various forums as well as blogs from professional photographers, who said that while buying your first camera, they would mostly suggest a Nikon because it has slightly better image quality and the user control are much more friendlier in a Nikon, and the image sensor is of higher quality as compared to a Canon. So the final decision had to be a Nikon because a Nikon excelled in these three stages, and at least not comparing to the high-end DSLRs but comparing to the entry level and the mid-range DSLRs, Nikon fared much better than Canon's. So it was Nikon, but the dilemma was choosing either the Nikon D3200 or the D5200 or the D5300. Now, a lot of research went into each of these cameras, each of their specifications, uh, their megapixels, the sensor quality, the sensor size, the type of lenses that can be used, the controls, the guide modes, the scene modes, the auto modes, the focus modes, the manual modes, what can be done with the body, not the lens. So at first we eliminated the D3200 simply because it was too basic, and what I felt was after 6-7 months of usage, the body will practically be very low end when I want to upgrade or go to a higher level of photography, a semi-pro level. So the D3200 was eliminated, and the toss-up was next between the D5200 or the D5300. Now the D5200 is a really good camera. It had really good reviews. So was the D5300, but the D5300 is obviously slightly expensive, but when I got to know about the D5500 and went through the reviews, it was the latest model. So the D5500 was launched in February 2015, whereas the D5200 is a 2012 model. So the D5500 featured touchscreen, Wi-Fi, and all those new exciting features. So it was a Nikon, and there was a lot of deliberation as to choosing between a D5200 or D5300 or a D5500, and whether to go with a D5300 with twin lenses or a D5500 with a single lens. And finally I went ahead with the Nikon D5500, which I'll be explaining more about in the next video. Welcome to the last part of this podcast series where I'll be going over my Nikon D5500. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you the camera because I'm recording all these videos using the Nikon D5500 and it's recording these videos in full HD 1080p at 50 frames per second. Now, this camera was purchased on 24th of December 2015 from RK Photo Studios, which is in Gandhinagar in Bangalore. We got it at a price of 47,850 rupees for the body, as well as an 18 by 55 AFS zoom Nikkor lens. Now, this lens is a very basic lens, but it handles most of portraits and landscape photos quite well. Only thing is, you can't expect high zoom or extremely high resolution photos from this lens. Now, I'll talk a bit about the Nikon D5500 and why I went ahead with this. First thing is, this is the first camera in the entry level or the mid-range segment to offer a touchscreen, and this feature is not there in Canon or any other such as Olympus, any other manufacturer. So touchscreen is a very new thing to DSLRs and it's a big thing, and the touch sensitivity is extremely good. Everything moves very fast, just like an iPad or an iPhone. So that's a really big improvement from the previous generation of DSLRs. The second thing is, it has built-in Wi-Fi, which means that when I click a picture, all I have to do is switch on Wi-Fi on the DSLR and open an app provided by Nikon, which is free to download, and all I have to do is connect it with where the DSLR acts as the hotspot. And when it's connected, I just open my phone, I can see all the photos I've clicked, download whichever I want and share them. So these two features, the most convenient features. Apart from this, the D5500 is as good as the D5300. It has a lot of functions, 39-point focus, apart from that built-in flash, AF illuminator, and F mount for various types of lenses, even the biggest of lenses possible, increased grip to hold the camera better, and better dials. And the new command dial is completely revamped, it's improved, it's totally different from the older generation of Nikons. Now, apart from that, there is nothing much different. It's a slightly larger screen from the predecessor, which is a 3.2-inch touchscreen. This camera is really good, especially for mid-range, and why I chose this over the more basic versions of the DSLR is simply because 6 months or 7 months later, when I'm past the beginner or the amateur level of photography, this camera body will still be sufficient for a semi-pro level. So all I have to do is change the lens to whatever lens I need for that kind of photography, but the body will still be good. So the body is a one-off, it's a once in lifetime, and it'll last a lifetime. So I'm extremely happy with this camera, and I think we made a really good decision buying this and not buying the lower end ones. And I think we'll never have any regrets whatsoever with this camera. I think it just performs exceptionally well. Especially, I spent the whole day today researching about this camera, learning all its modes such as manual, aperture priority, shutter priority, programmed auto. Everything works so smoothly and it's also user friendly. So there's no cons of this camera at all, including weight. It's so light at about 430 grams, even with the 18 by 55 lens. You almost don't feel it in your hand. So it's unlimited capabilities in this camera, but yet it's so small and it's really good. So I'm extremely happy we bought this camera. I'd like to thank Appa and Mama who encouraged me to take up photography and to pursue it as a hobby. So thank you, and I'm gonna enjoy this camera for a very, very, very long time to come. Thank you for watching my podcast series. I hope you liked it.